Hey, I'm live. It's Dr. Gail Randall and on Instagram TV Live. And this morning we're going to talk about adding years and growing younger. How is that? What's the secret in the sauce? Well, I'm going to tell you my secrets, and everybody's waving at me. That's really nice. And then we'll see what you guys have to say. You know, first of all, I'm a board-certified internist, gastroenterologist, integrative medicine doctor, also certified in functional medicine. And I was doing integrative medicine before there was a name for it, actually. And I'm still doing it. Here we are. Welcome to the future. And I'm a medical mind-body futurist. So that's what I like to call myself. They also call me the soul doctor. So this morning we're going to talk about soul, sensuality, and sexuality, but also about how to stay young and how to grow younger, even though you're adding years. So we're going to start out with a topic that for me goes under soul wellness. So under soul wellness, it's the things that you've heard before, but I can't tell you how many times when I have people come in and I say, I want to be skinny like you. And then I say, well, okay, I need you to eat mostly a plant-based diet. I need you to get off the sugar and the refined carbs. And they go, oh, I can't give up sugar. Well, then you blocked yourself. So let's just go on and say we can do all these things. Can do, right? Let's be can-do people. And we can grow older and younger at the same time. So we're going to eat a plant-based diet, mostly plants. If you're going to eat meat, make sure it's organic. Regenerative grown is the best because that regenerates the planet at the same time as it does give meat for people that want to eat it. So the meat portion should be about this big. And it should be like the side dish, like we classically think of vegetables. And the vegetables should be a rainbow and be the majority of what you eat. That's how you get to health. Lots of leafy greens. You know, you've heard this before, but listen, because this is how you're going to maintain your body longer, live longer, and feel better through it. So if you're going to live for a long time, you don't want to feel like crap. You know, you want to feel good. You want to be able to do the things you want to do. You want to travel. You want to be able to exercise, which is the second thing. So there's diet, there's exercise. And I prefer a combination of aerobic, weight training. Of course, I ride my horse. But a really good way to get your exercise. A lot of people and my patients say, I don't have time to exercise. Well, listen, I'm a very busy lady. And I find time to exercise because I know the benefits and I'm not willing to give them up. You know, it also reduces inflammation as well as the good diet. So the best way you can get your exercise quickly is do HIIT training, which is high intensity training, where you exercise and you either run, or it doesn't even have to be running. You could do it with sit-ups if you have bad knees or something, like a lot of people do. You do it for as hard as you can, for as long as you can, until you just can't go anymore. It's usually several minutes, maybe 4 minutes, maybe 5 minutes, and you're so out of breath, or you can run back and forth, or be outside in nature and run as hard as you can until you can't go anymore. Then you stop, you give it a rest period for another 4 or 5 minutes, and you do it again. And you do that for, say, 15 minutes. And it turns out that's just as effective as running, you know, for 40, 50, 60 minutes and getting all that aerobic training. It's just as effective cardiovascularly, maybe better, which was surprising to me when I first studied it. The other thing that was surprising to me is that people that, you know, are weekend warriors, because I tend to exercise, I do exercise on Thursday, but I also exercise on Sunday and Monday. So they're all, and one time is 2 in one day. So they're all together. So that's like people call weekend warrior type exercising. Turns out that the benefit from that kind of exercise is just as good. We never thought it was before, but it is. So it's just get out there, put the time in, shake your booty, do whatever it is that you love. It can be any kind of exercise. It can be swimming. It can be jumping on a trampoline, since a lot of people don't like to go out and about now, but exercise is the second key point to living longer, younger. So good diet, exercise. What else? Anybody have any suggestions? Sleep. So good sleep. A lot of people say, I can't sleep. I go, well, why can't you sleep? So that's between me and my patient, but oftentimes sleep is because of stress. So that leads us to another thing, stress reduction or meditation or simply breathing. In my last show, I taught people how to breathe, do what I call Buddha belly breathing, where you breathe from your belly. So you breathe in for a count of 5, and you breathe out for a count of 6. And you just keep that counting going in here. It disallows other thoughts that come in and disrupt you and make you nervous. Put them all on the shelf. Do the breathing for simply 5 minutes. 5 minutes of Buddha belly breathing has been shown to increase your neurotransmitters, your beneficial neurotransmitters, serotonin, GABA, dopamine for 6 hours. 5 minutes for 6 hours. Also slows down your brain waves, calms you, slows down your heart rate, lowers your blood pressure. So breathing 5 minutes twice a day, that's nothing. That's nothing compared to the benefit. Now, if you're a meditator, please continue meditating. But a lot of people say they don't have time to do that. So this is an easy hack that's been shown to chemically change you, to actually make you relaxed and can combat stress. So, and stress, remember, it's not really what's happening, it's how you respond to it that counts. So if you can train yourself to respond in a beneficial way, even though it's not a pleasant thing, that way you don't build up that stress in your body. So we've got good diet, we've got good exercise, we've got dealing with our stress. Another one is, of course, community. Community is key. So if you have a family, love them, allow them to love you. That's very important for longevity, very important for your good chemicals in your body. Keep your gut clean. That relates back to diet, but 70% of your neurotransmitters comes from your gut, as it turns out. So don't eat the sugars, don't drink too much alcohol. I don't take away a glass of wine from a person if that relaxes them and they're enjoying it with their friends. That's acceptable. It's even been shown in some studies to be beneficial. But when you get into the bottles of wine, that's a whole nother subject. So it has to do with quantity, it has to do with how frequently you do it. So if you have a glass of wine, 1 or 2 days out of the week, that's going to be good. It's going to de-stress you, calm you, give you the enjoyment that you want, and help to make you happier and healthier in the long run. I'm not promoting to drink. I'm just saying if you do, that's the quantity that you should do it in. So that's the soul wellness part of it. So let's go to the soul spirituality part of it. I think that part of living longer, younger is having a spiritual practice. My spiritual practice happens to be a form of meditation. I trained and spent time, still do, with Native Americans, and I do what I was taught by them. But whatever is your spiritual practice, if you do Judaism or whatever is your religion, pray or meditate, whatever your spiritual practice is, it's fine. I had a guy, he was my patient, and he said, well, Dr. Randall, I don't really believe in a higher power. I said, what do you believe in? He said, I believe in myself. I said, that's good enough. Then you need to have a positive outlook and put your intention into that and make it like a spiritual practice. It's like a self-care thing. And it works for him. So you don't have to be believing in God necessarily, although I do very much believe in God and I think that it's part of it. But whatever works for you is what's going to take you to the point where you want to get to. So that's soul spirituality. Okay? So the other things that we want to talk about this morning are soul beauty. So, how do you stay beautiful? Well, we alluded to it a little bit. Take the toxins out. So if you have too much alcohol, if you smoke, if you eat non-organic food, the herbicides, pesticides, and fungicides in there are very deleterious to your DNA. They're going to damage your DNA. You're not going to look as vibrant if you're not eating clean food. So that's a way to soul beauty. Am I against Botox or injections? No, I'm not against it. But I think that if you treat the inside of your body, I always say beauty on the inside leads to beauty on the outside. So again, that alludes back to the healthy gut. But, eat clean, happy food. This industrial raised meat, one thing that surprised me when I studied about it was that meat that's been industrially raised, you've seen the feedlots of the cows out there. They're all crowded, they're confused, they're trying to have sex with each other, and they're all the same sex, they're all steers. They're frustrated and they're scared. They're scared to death because they know they're going to die. And they're fed grain when their natural food is grass. The cows that are out grazing on the grass, the green grass, they're happy. They're not frustrated. They're happy. They're living happy lives. So the other kind of raising of beef, the animals are unhappy. I call it eating our own misery. Think about it. You're making these animals unhappy their entire lives, and then you eat them. Does that make sense? Doesn't it make sense that DNA may be damaged or altered or tainted in some way? And actually, it is. Guess what? It is. They've measured this, and there are cytokines, which are inflammatory molecules in meats that have been butchered. And there's more in the industrial raised meats than there are in the non-industrial raised meats. It's in all of it, but mainly the industrialized meats are full of cytokines. Cytokines are these inflammatory molecules. Put them in your body and they attract white cells. They release in your bloodstream, it attracts white cells. That's inflammation. Inflammation is the common denominator, the base of the pyramid that all major diseases come from. 76% of our health dollars go to paying for inflammatory diseases. Heart disease, cancer, diabetes. Think about it, hypertension. And if you remove that inflammation, and one of the ways are these tainted meats, these problems improve. So, as a country, as a humanity, as a population, if we start thinking about what are we eating and what's in there, then you choose the things that are healthier for you. You're going to live healthier longer. You're going to put on years and grow younger. I personally don't eat meat. Now, when my brother comes to visit me, I know I'm not going to convert him to being a vegetarian or a vegan. I'll order regeneratively farmed animals, like the turkey for our Thanksgiving or something like that. That seems okay to me because that type of farming, it's a really interesting type of farming. They let all the animals, the cows, the pigs, even the wild animals, the ducks, the birds, they all live together. They don't separate them by fences. They're in big pastures. They graze and eat the grass. When grass-fed is much healthier, right? It carries the omega-3s. That's like eating salmon or something. So it's a very healthy for the animal, and it's very healthy for you when you consume that product. So then they use biomimicry, and they mimic the predator-prey relationship. So they move them. They move these animals from one pasture to another pasture. to the greener grass on the other side. And the pasture where they were, their poop and products and body fluids and stuff causes the grasses to regenerate to their original form. So it regenerates the earth. It takes down more carbon dioxide. It releases more oxygen. So this is a very healthy way of farming. And it's not just about animals. They also raise vegetables and use the excrement for fertilizer. So look in your area. Here in California, we have many regenerative farms. Kiss the Ground is one. You can Google it. There are many you can find, and they're absolutely amazing and amazing people to get to know as well. There's a guy named Timothy Kirchville who I got to know when I was on a show with Glenn Brooks called Vibrant Living, and we had him on our show, and he's amazing. He's like the Stephen Hawking's of regenerative farming, but he is living in Kentucky, and he's trying to get the entire Kentucky switched over to regenerative farming, and he did it in a very unique way. He looked at what was good about regular farming. What is good about regular farming? Well, what's good about regular farming is the farmer gets subsidized by the government. That's really where the money comes from. The farmer doesn't really make a lot of money on his product. He makes the most money from the government. So he figured out a way that local governments could subsidize these regenerative farms, or local organizations could subsidize them, and the farmer could get paid for their product and then provide a product for the community. So very awesome. Big kudos to Timothy Kirchville. I love you. We'll have you on my podcast when we get going. Anyway, so that's you got to think about not only, what you're eating, but where does it come from and what's in there. So of course, local foods are better than foods that have been shipped from far away. They're fresher. They have more antioxidants in them and so forth. So that's soul nourishment, okay? Soul nourishment. That's a really important thing to think. And then get out the toxins. Like I said, the herbicides, pesticides, and fungicides in the industrialized raised food. And people will tell me, Dr. Randall, I don't think I can afford that kind of food. And I tell them, I don't think you can afford not to have that kind of food. Because if you look at the long run and the cost of healthcare and the cost of your own healthcare and what it'll do to you later on in life, it's worth it. You want to eat as much organic food as possible because you want to live longer with quality. Not just quantity, but quality. Okay? So that's a very important point there. The other thing that we want to talk about is soul care. So soul care is like self-care. So what do you do for yourself? Let's say you're a mom or even a dad and you work hard for your kids. You have a family, you want to provide for them and so forth. What do you do in that piece of the pie that's all your time? How much of that time is for you? How much of that time is for you? I've been working on this for many years. When I was at UCLA, I got my black belt in martial arts, and I was a professor in residence. Anybody that knows anything about medical systems knows that's a big deal, because you not only are a doctor that you see patients, you lecture, you have a certain administrative responsibility. I was the head of the gastroenterology procedures unit, and also you have to belong to a certain number of committees, and you have to write papers, you have to do research. So that's a lot of stuff. So it's called a professor in residence. While I was doing that, I got my black belt because I said, this is going to be time for me. So every Monday, Wednesday, Friday, I told all my secretaries in the various departments, I had a meeting. I have a meeting between 8 o'clock and 10 o'clock on Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. And they said, okay, and they wrote it down. And so anybody that called, she says, oh no, she has a meeting. That went on for years, and so that was my way to carve out my time, because if they knew you were somewhere, they would find you anyway. So carve out time for yourself. Carve out time for yourself to do something for you. It empowers you. It's something that makes you happy, something that makes you feel more accomplished. That's not part of your regular stuff. Your work makes you feel happy if you like it and it's satisfying to you. But if you don't do something special just for you, that's soul care, self-care, you're not going to be a whole individual. So try that, in your own format. If you make an appointment with yourself, it should be like you made an appointment with the President of the United States. Don't break it. Don't say, oh, well, it's me, so I can not do it. No. It has to be just as important as any other appointment that you make. And then you're gonna accomplish something. You're gonna accomplish something for yourself, and you're gonna feel it as time goes on. I always say a well-spent present leads us to a happy future. So that's my little hit on soul care, self-care. Although I have to also say, I've noticed lately there's a lot about self-care, which is great. It's fabulous. I love it. But it's getting back a little bit to the me thing. And I think the me thing is good because you have to become self-aware. You have to become self-organized, self-sufficient in order to heal yourself. I just wrote a book called Soul Doctoring, Heal Yourself, Heal the Planet, which implies if you heal yourself, you then become more aware of what's around you. The we. The we is just as important as the me. You have to get the me together so you can participate in the we, but without the we, we're nothing. We're nothing without the we. Listen, you guys, if you have questions, I can't answer all your questions while I'm talking. If I see one, I will. But don't hesitate to DM me, and I'll answer every single question that you send me, okay? So that's at Dr. Gail Randall on Instagram. I'll answer your questions. Okay, so I wanted to also talk about the soul, what you've been waiting for, of course, the soul sensuality, the soul sexuality. And you say, well, I'm like too old for that now. My patients that are, in menopause or 60, or sometimes my guys, oh, well, my wife isn't really interested. That it doesn't have to be that way. If that's the way you want it to be, then fine, but it doesn't have to be that way. If you kind of would like it not to be that way, then you would want to see maybe a doctor like me that could look into what your hormones are doing, both men and women. With men are simple. Men are easy because they have one hormone called testosterone, and that runs everything for them. So they're easy. Women are complicated. we know that, but if they're depressed and they're in that age, maybe 50 to 70, you might want to check their testosterone. Sometimes a little bit of testosterone can pick up their mood like nobody's business, and they no longer are depressed. They feel happier. They feel more powerful, and that'll lead to something else we're going to talk about at the conclusion. So hang around, because we're going to talk about the big soul O and the chemistry of the soul O. But anyway, so men are simple. Now, let's say they have a little bit elevated PSA, or they have a family history of prostate cancer. They may not want to do testosterone, and that's fine. There are herbs that can help them. You need a doctor such as myself that's trained in herbology, and herbs that won't necessarily affect the testosterone levels, but there are herbs for both men and women in menopause and men in manpause, that can help with their hormones. Attitude is a big part of it too. But women are, like I said, are more complicated. Women have estrogen, 3 forms. They have estrone, estradiol, and estriol. So 3 forms of estrogen, and they have progesterone, which needs to balance those, and they have testosterone. As it turns out, for both men and women, which was kind of interesting to me when I first learned it years ago, need testosterone in order to have libido. You know, at first you think, oh, well, that's a man thing. I don't need that. But guess what? You do. You do need it. And you don't need very much of it, but even just a little bit can help a woman. So you want to go to an experienced doctor, such as myself, that can order the right laboratory tests. The most important estrogen is estradiol. That's the thing that does the job. And then you have to have an equal amount of progesterone in the way that it's proportioned to match the estradiol. Otherwise you get problems or imbalances, and then you need just a little bit of testosterone. So in postmenopausal women, oftentimes they'll have a little estrogen, oftentimes in the wrong form. It's usually in estrone and not estradiol. And that's the dangerous kind. That's the bad kind. You don't want to have high estrone levels. And there's ways to ameliorate that with something called DIM, diiodomethionine. And it's a natural agent which helps your body to clear out the wrong kind of hormone and keep it in the right kind, which, when we're talking about estrogen for women, it's estradiol. In men, the DIM keeps the testosterone in the right form, so it doesn't go to dihydrotestosterone. Dihydrotestosterone is what causes prostate problems, prostate cancer, hair loss, acne in both men and women. And so you want to check that in both men, that level in both men and women, the dihydrotestosterone. And DIM helps in both cases, in men and women. So back to women. So the progesterone only comes from the egg shell. Once the woman has ovulated, the progesterone comes from that egg shell. Well, obviously, postmenopausal women aren't making eggs. They don't have egg shells. It also comes from the placenta. They're not going to have that either. So they usually have progesterones of zip, and estradiols are usually off the map low, and they'll have a little bit of estrone. That's not a good situation for a woman that wants to be sexual. And they usually won't have any testosterone either. So there are many different ways that we can help women with that. We can use, I like to start people on creams, bioidentical. Now this is a big subject because everybody goes, oh no, I can't do that. My Aunt Bessie had breast cancer and I heard that estrogen gives you cancer. Well, there have the Women's Health Initiative study back, oh my God, I don't even remember the date right now, but it criminalized estrogen. And there are many, I'm sorry, OBGYNs out there that are still, indoctrinated or brainwashed, I guess, or somehow taught that estrogen is bad. And when you're 60 years old, they say you should stop your estrogen. Oh, okay. Well, what does estrogen do for a woman? It helps prevent cognitive decline. It helps prevent osteoporosis. It helps prevent heart disease. What do we want? I mean, so, if it helps prevent all these things that happen to us, to me, that's desirable. What is the downside of supplementing estrogen? Well, if a person is not prone to blood clots, if they eat healthy, they don't eat meat, they don't smoke, they're not going to get blood clots. And the studies show that bioidentical hormones in healthy women like that not only doesn't cause cancer, it protects you from cancer, and it prevents you from cognitive decline or Alzheimer's disease, osteoporosis, and heart disease. I want that. So I take it, because of that. And I think that a lot of other women out there do, but oftentimes women don't because they're afraid. Well, I'm here to tell you that the studies show you don't need to be afraid. Now, your doctor needs to be smart and take the proper history and make sure you're the right person. You're a good candidate. That you're not a big meat eater, you're not a big alcohol drinker, you're not smoking, and there's no history of clots in you or your family. So that's the way it goes. So in men, testosterone likewise helps prevent cognitive decline, does a lot of things. If they have sugar problems, it lowers the blood sugar or reduces their predilection to get diabetes or hyperglycemia or an elevated hemoglobin A1C, which is a big deal. It reduces headaches if a person has headaches. If a person has migraine headaches, it can even cure them. So it's pretty amazing for men also. And also returning a person's libido, whether it be a man or a woman, is very healthy. Okay, now we're getting to the good part. So what is the soul O? Has anybody ever told you what the anatomy of an orgasm is? It turns out that orgasms are really good for you. If sometimes if you're not with someone anymore, or you happen to be single like I am, it doesn't mean you can't have an orgasm. You can have an orgasm, and that's okay. So it's nothing wrong with that, and it is very good for you. It releases tons of oxytocin. Oxytocin is amazing for both men and women. It de-stresses. It again, just like some of like the breathing I told you about, it slows down your brain waves, lowers your blood pressure, slows down your heart rate. Oxytocin is a super healthy thing. It makes you less stressed. It removes stress. It removes anxiety. I had the professor once that was teaching us about oxytocin, and he said he took it, and we're all like going, oh my God, we're medical students. He took oxytocin, and he said that his grandchildren liked him better, that the puppies started following him around, and everything was so nice. So it's a very good thing for both men and women, and it helps promote the release of dopamine. I'm sure your dopamine comes from your nucleus accumbens, which is your addiction center in your brain, but it stimulates that nucleus accumbens and makes you feel that euphoria that everybody likes after having an orgasm, or everybody likes dopamine. I mean, surfing, riding my horse, all causes dopamine. So it helps us think better. We feel more energetic, more motivated. It's a great, great neurotransmitter, and oxytocin helps release that. So that's the soul O, and it helps you be younger because it releases all these beneficial neurotransmitters in your body and in your brain. And I had a professor once that said you should have, just like you hear to eat an apple a day, you should have an orgasm a day. So that's a recommendation from the soul doctor. Okay, if you have any questions, ask them now, or DM them to me. I will answer them. And there are answers. Every problem has a solution. So remember that. That's another Randallism. Okay, I love you guys. Take care of yourselves. And write me, okay? I'll see you next week.